Welcome to Punching In, Hard Knocks and Highlights, the podcast about finding new opportunities, overcoming life's toughest challenges, and celebrating the wins along the way. I'm Wade Odom, an accomplished sales, business, and entrepreneur professional, but I've done a whole lot more that I will get into as we get to know each other better. But until then, join me as I share my journey to land this next new big job while helping you chase yours. Let's punch in and get started. All right, welcome to the episode. We are off and running. We've got a couple in the bag, and today is going to be a pretty good show. I don't have any guests yet. Like I said, Scott Bartlett will be on next week, but I wanted to bring you through where everything's at as far as activity for the job search. The whole point here is to try and get me a new dream job, right? So I've been applying for a bunch of jobs each day. I have kind of a system where I'm guessing it's probably 15, 20 jobs a day that I'm applying for. I've got two different resumes because I've got two different sections of my experience. So I've got a portion of it for about the past 5 years that is in telecom. And then I've got probably 15 years or so in consumer packaged goods, transportation, and logistics. So there is two separate resumes. I've got them both ATS formatted. And I found that out over, I guess, kind of hard knocks, that for LinkedIn and a lot of jobs these days, there is a format called ATS. And apparently it's just the way that things are categorized with your experience. So that keywords, buzzwords, the different algorithms that the internet uses these days can find you more effectively. So I have used ChatGPT, and I swear by using AI. I didn't have it write my resume. I had it structure it. So you know your experience better than anyone. So when you're writing your resume, make sure you put your experience in there. Don't have the robot do it. However, once you've got your experience in there, you can have AI, ChatGPT, reorganize it and reword it so that the structure and the format is the most advantageous for your career. And that's what I've done. So the links that you'll see in the bio for these episodes, you're going to see two different resumes. And that's why I wanted to focus on the jobs that are more consumer packaged goods. I wanted to have a resume aimed directly at them. And then the ones that are aimed at more telecom, I wanted to have a resume aimed at them. So there's also a different thing that you can do is I use ChatGPT, and I'll take the job description of a specific job. And if it's telecom, I'll take the telecom resume and say, rewrite the resume and aim it towards this job description. Then you copy and paste the job description into ChatGPT using your experience, and boom, it highlights the experience that you have to make it stand out more so for the employer that you're trying to attract. So it's kind of cool. It's pretty neat. But I also wanted to tell you that this whole process, it is not cool. It is not easy. It is not where I expected to be. It is frustrating. It is aggravating. It is disappointing that I'm even here. Like I mentioned in the first episode, man, I thought this most recent job was my dream job. I thought it was going to be the job that I retire at. It's got a great product. Everything is amazing. And man, it just didn't happen. And sometimes that's how life is. So the title of this week's episode is, what do you do when it all falls apart? Because that's kind of where I'm at. And I've had this happen throughout my career, throughout my life. And I'm going to tell you a series of stories today about how those things transpired, what I did, how it worked out, and hopefully give you guys some hope and I guess some just insight on the way things go. Like I said, also in one of the other episodes, it's not like you guys haven't had struggles, because I know everybody has struggles. So it's not just me. I'm not out here alone. I'm not the only person that's ever had a rough day. And boy, was yesterday bad. It was one of those days that I didn't want to get out of bed. I was mad at everybody. I was frustrated. My wife's going out of town. Just nothing went the way that I had hoped. Even the first episode of the podcast, I had to pull it down off the internet and make some adjustments to it because a very good friend of mine does podcasts pointed out some things that were just major rookie mistakes. But hey, I am a rookie and I can't be perfect, but I did pull it down. It will be re-premiering on Saturday morning on YouTube, LinkedIn, and then Saturday afternoon on Facebook and Instagram, just for the record. So if you were wondering what happens, that's what happened whenever you got to see it twice. So I'm going to put the glasses on here. So that's what the journey looked like today. Yesterday really sucked. I was super, as David Goggins would say, I was super poopy pants. And on the way to taking my wife to the airport for her to go out of town, she said something that really pissed me off, but it was gold. I was talking to her about how just crappy I feel about not having a job, having had income set perfectly. The budget was right. Everything was just falling into place. And then all of a sudden, boom, gone. She goes, well, look at everything that you learned. You got to be kidding me. All I learned was that I should do more research before I accept a job and that I should document everything whenever it's all falling apart while I'm there. She's like, no, you learned so much about what you need to do as a professional. And wow, she's right. I hate it when she's right, but she's right an awful lot. So that was kind of the ending of my crappy day because I dropped her off. And then I got to thinking about what she said. Well, what did you learn? So I started going back through everything that had happened in the past couple of days and then what had happened over the course of my career. And I was mentioning a friend who assisted me because he does podcasts. His name's Ramsey Bergeron. He has his own coaching and well-being company, Bergeron Wellbeing, and I'll tag him in this episode. But he actually then showed me a piece of software that can quickly help me edit my podcasts. So number one, he points out in the morning that, boy, you have some things you need to not say. I was like, all right, my bad. You're right, I don't. And then he showed me this piece of software where you can literally just delete it and it changes the entire structure of the video and it's effortless. So learning as you go. So this is a process. Everything we do is a process. And as humans, especially as people who are looking for jobs, you got to fall in love with the process because the process is what is going to teach you. And as my wife said, look at what you learned, right? So it falls back on how spoiled I've really been. So starting way back, junior high, high school, college, even after I got my first job with Dr. Pepper, man, I couldn't lose. I don't know what it was, but I could snap my fingers. I could throw a dart. Whatever I touched worked. And I got really spoiled because I didn't know what failure felt like. High school, great athlete, 3 state championships, got to go play Division I football in college, 3.7 GPA, and I didn't study. Like, I only struggled with one class in college, which was chemistry. And boy, I even had Division I tutors that were helping me, and I still got a D. It was the only class I ever got a D in the history of my academic career. Everything else was A's and B's. I graduated, I can't remember, 3.5 or 3.7 from University of Kansas. I was pre-med. And like I said, I hardly ever studied. I was busy watching film or playing football or chasing girls or anything. But everything just fell into place. And then my first big job was with Dr. Pepper. Actually, let's rewind. It's even better how this falls in place. So I got my degree from medicine. I was an athletic trainer or rehabilitation therapist. And I moved to Denver. I'm training one of the guys that was my patients. He had banged up his knee skiing. I had moved to Denver. And he's like, man, you're pretty good with people. He's like, have you ever been in sales? I said, no, I haven't. And I said, what kind of sales? He said, computers. And this was 99, 2000 timeframe where all of the .com boom was coming. So there were so many .coms popping up. Basically, any company that started, boom, instantly was a millionaire. So IT sales was easy, I guess. But the director of sales says, "What do you make now as a rehabilitation therapist?" I told him. He's like, "Okay, cool. You want to double that tomorrow?" I looked at him like, "Man, you are crazy." Anyway, he comes back the next morning with an offer letter, slides it across the exam table, and says, "What do you think? You want to take it or not?" I said, "Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it." So overnight, I go from wearing a sweatsuit to work to wearing a suit to work. Had a corner office, and almost immediately, I started making close to six figures. Some years I did make six figures, and it was on. It was just like, this is how easy it's going to be. Perfect. I like life is good. The only thing is, I only had a 10 speed at the time, so I needed a car. But thank goodness the income that I generated allowed me to go get one. Well, the way that everything just kept falling into place, I then meet what I thought at the time was my dream girl. She was super successful. She had a great body. She was a former officer in the military, the first female in the country to finish air assault school. She was the boss at a investment consulting firm. She had her own office on Wall Street in New York City and spoke and dealt with 3 days a week Mayor Giuliani at the time. So she was running the entire investment plan for the city of New York. I don't know how much she was making, but it was a lot. Some reason she fell in love with me. Like I said, everything just kept, it was easy. And lo and behold, we get married and we move to Dallas, move into a massive house, 6 bedrooms, pool, half an acre, corner lot, cul-de-sac, whatever you want to call it. Everything you could think of, it was there. The best neighborhood in the city, one of the best. It was in Trophy Club. So if you know Dallas, the Dallas area Trophy Club is a pretty high end place. But everything just kept falling into place. And then she loses her job for whatever reason. She worked with Fidelity Investments at the time, and we were stuck. And so I started applying for jobs, looking for jobs. I happened to be in a music group church at White's Chapel Methodist Church I think it was in South Lake. South Lake was where it was, South Lake, Texas, right next to Trophy Club. And one of the girls that was in the group, her husband was a director at Dr. Pepper. And I told her I was looking for a job. Next thing you know, I'm interviewing. Next thing you know, I have the job. Next thing you know, they're relocating us to Memphis. And it was all expense paid. I'm talking 2 months of corporate housing, the works. I mean, it was white glove, red carpet treatment. It was so cool. And it keeps getting better. When I'm in Memphis, the job I had with Dr. Pepper basically had the keys to the city. One phone call, I could have anything I wanted. Front row tickets to shows, suite tickets to shows. I sponsored every venue. All the high schools, I sponsored them as well. So if I needed to do anything for the community, I was in touch with all the high schools, all the colleges, FedEx Forum, the Pyramid at the time. I had floor seats for the Memphis Grizzlies. One time, a ball went out of bounds and they were playing, I think it was the Orlando Magic. And that's when Shaq was playing. He landed on my then wife. We were that close. So I'm just saying, it was one thing after another, one thing after another, and it keeps getting better. One evening, I'm watching American Idol, and I'm seeing Chris Daughtry on TV. I'm like, I can do that. So since I knew everybody in Memphis, I put my name out there. I said, I want to be a singer because I think I can sing. I started trying out for different bands. Well, the one that picked me was a band called Dust for Life. Their singer had gotten kicked out of the band. They lost their record deal because they were running their mouth on K-Rock in LA. And basically they just needed to kind of revamp things. And I happened to come along. I knew the right people. I got the shot. Next thing you know, I'm in the band. We renamed the band Dark Things Betray. And you can go actually on iTunes and look up Dark Things Betray. And I'm not singing in that particular version of it, but many of the songs that you listen to, I helped write. But my point is, everything just kept working out, kept working out, kept working out. I never got to feel what disappointment felt like. So then I get laid off from Dr. Pepper. This was after about 10 years of just being spoiled, unlimited money. Oh, I forgot to tell you, while it was like maybe 2005, my then wife was still unemployed. And it was shortly after I had gotten the job with Dr. Pepper. She was tired of being unemployed. She didn't want to go back to corporate America. So I wrote a business plan for a small business and I got several $1,000,000. They just gave it to me. Like I said, it just kept getting better. I was a millionaire, y'all, a millionaire at age 29. And we bought a cell phone chain, a cell phone store chain. We had 13 cell phone stores in 3 states. We were just crushing it, crushing it. And I'm just saying, I don't know how everything happened to work so well for so long, but all of a sudden it didn't. Found out that my then wife was an alcoholic, a drug addict. And while I was on business trips, she was binging and wasting all the company money and hurting herself. And it was a train wreck. It's absolute horrible. Long story short, we get a divorce. She takes everything pretty much because I was so ready to not be in that kind of situation. And I'd been winning for so long, I thought, I'll just get it back. That's not how it worked. That is not how it worked. Now, I didn't become a bum and get homeless, and I wasn't broke, but I was compared to how I had been living. I was grateful and fortunate enough to meet my now wife, also in Memphis, Kenosha, Coco. I mentioned her in the first episode. We have been married for 15 years nearly. It'll be 15 years in March. We've got 3 children together, and I have 1 stepson. So things are still great, but it wasn't like it was at Dr. Pepper and my previous 28 years of life. I basically had life handed to me. Well, now I have to work for it. And what do you do when it all falls apart? Well, you keep grinding. You don't give up. You keep pushing. You try to surround yourself with the very, very, very best people, people who care about you, people who love you. You try to overcome things with positivity. Now, I'm a Christian, and I know everybody may not be, but I'm telling you, prayer and meditation have, without question, gotten me through the lowest of the low times. And reverting back to last night when I was poopy pants, I was so sad. I was pissed off. My wife's telling me, "What did you learn?" And I'm like, "I didn't learn a goddamn thing." I was so frustrated. And I started thinking, all right, what are you going to do? I had run to Walmart to grab some things to make dinner. And I got almost home and I said, you know what? I'm going to go get me some vodka. Yep. I'm just going to start drinking. I turned the car around, headed that way towards the liquor store. I got about 3/4 of the way there and I pulled over. And I said, nope, that's not what you're going to do. You're going to go home. You're going to make dinner for your kids. You're going to watch a movie with them. And then you're going to get up at 4:30 in the morning and go to the gym. And that's what I did. This morning, I started out 4:30. I was at the gym by 5:10, 5:15. Had a great workout, got the kids up from school about 6:30. And then I've been working on the structure and content of this show, and I applied for 10 jobs. So I came up with a structure. I had been doing it unbeknownst to me. I didn't really have a structure, I didn't think, but I kind of pinpointed things and started saying, all right, what have you been doing consistently for your job search? Well, every morning I get up, I check my email for any responses from the jobs that I had applied to from the previous days. And then without fail, I apply for at least 10 to 15 more. Some days it's 20. Analyze my resume. I put it through ChatGPT to make sure that there's nothing that I can make better with it. But the biggest thing is I just don't quit. I just don't quit. Now, while I was at the gym, I started listening to a podcast, motivational speech video. It's a compilation, but it was Joe Rogan. That guy had so many nuggets of information to give me, and I'm going to give you a few. One of the things is if you're getting older, like I'm getting older. I'm later in my career. I'm not 28 years old anymore. I'm 51. I'll be 52 in August, which is crazy. I try to stay fit. I try to look young, but my bones say otherwise. And my resume, sometimes, depending on which job you're looking at, you got to knock the dust off of it. But Joe Rogan said, stop saying you're too old. Stop saying I should have been here already. I should have been there already. He said, if you're alive, if you're breathing, you can still get there. Oh, that resonated with me so much, because there are so many days when I look at my, at 29, I was a millionaire. And then I look at my bank account at 50, and I'm like, what have I done? What in the world have I done? How have I failed so poorly? So that really, really, really helped. No matter how old you are, if you're still alive, don't quit. Don't give up. Keep pressing. Keep going. What else did he say? He said so many great things. Moving. All you have to do is move. One of the things he was like, oh, I can't find a gym. There's no way I can work out. I can't find a gym. He said, do you have any shoes? Put them on, lace them up, go for a walk, go for a jog. Do you have a floor? Go do some push-ups, go do some sit-ups. You don't have to have a gym to move. The whole point here is don't stop. No matter how old you are, no matter how frustrated you are, if you just keep going, if you just put one foot in front of the other, if you just lace up your tennis shoes, put them on, and get out of bed, that's a win. That's a win. I was also listening. One thing that you can do is write things down. Right? David Goggins, I'll talk about him quite a bit probably. He's one of my favorite people to listen to. He is crazy, but nonetheless, he's got a great message for me. He's not for everybody because he's so wild. But he goes, I wake up at 4:30 every morning, and I have a pen and pad next to my bed. The moment my feet hit the floor, I write down what time it is, because he has a goal every morning to wake up by 4:30. And every night he looks at that journal of what time he woke up and sees if there's any variation. Because if you write it down, you're holding yourself accountable. So if you have things that you want to accomplish, write them down. Keep them close to you. That way you can repeat what you've done. And if you see that you've done something that you don't want, say you hit snooze 2 or 3 times. Well, you know not to do that, because you're watching 4:30, 4:30, 4:30, 4:30, 6:45. What happened that day? Oh, I was lazy. I drank too much the night before. I was tired. You can have your own excuse, whatever it is, but you can see that on the paper and be like, that's not me. That's not what I want to be. So just keep going. Write down your goals. Use some of the processes that I've told you today. Use ChatGPT. Use the system. Apply to 10 to 15 jobs a day. Use your network. Listen to positive things. Put great things into your head so that you don't stay in the dumps. Because, man, yesterday was, like I said, there was not very much positive that I could say. But today, after my wife said, look how much you've learned, I truly have. I truly have learned a lot. So hopefully you've gotten something out of today's episode. Don't give up. Consider what you have learned in your failures. And if you've been like me, you've kind of had life handed to you up until recent times. And I don't mean handed to me. I've worked hard. I have really worked hard. And I probably am not giving myself enough credit. However, things have worked out quite well for me until roughly the past 5 years. And it shows in my temperament. It's like I've almost forgotten how to be happy, because everything happened so easily before. And now I just constantly have to grind just to make ends meet. Look at what I've learned. Just in one day, I've figured out all of these things. Now I just need to apply it. Now, a lot of these things that I talk about on these shows, I'm telling you guys right now, this is therapy for me. It helps you, I hope, but it's therapy for me just to get what I'm thinking out there, the verbalize the things that I've learned, the things I'm feeling. And hopefully, like I said, hopefully it can be some assistance to you guys. But anyway, I hope you have learned something. I hope you're inspired. Be encouraged. Have a great rest of your week, and God be with you. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to Punching In, Hard Knocks and Highlights. If today's episode gave you some encouragement, share it with a friend who's chasing their next opportunity. Don't forget to check in to the show notes for my resume and ways to connect. Until next time, keep fighting, keep learning, and keep punching in.